language. First, let's look at our first stories.
In business today, State Enterprise Committee rejects the 380 million shillings buyout presented by KCCA for Kisenyi Market. GS injects 1.5 billion shillings in fishing gear among Lake Victoria workers as RFBCP project targets sustainability. PPDA or SP call upon women-owned enterprises in procurement to attain efficiency, bidding challenges to drive opportunities.
You're welcome once again to Business Today. Thank you for the pleasure of your time. Let's begin with KCCA and the COSASE audit. COSASE has rejected the 380 billion shillings buyout of the Kisenyi vendors market presented by KCCA. Awan Bosco Mwonge demands the quoted sum from government that has, however, been termed as exorbitant.
Members of COSASE who departed for the field in the morning inspected a number of KCCA projects and learned that some projects are costing the nation while the perpetrators get away with it. The committee's tour began with a structure on Plot 71 Nkrumah Road that originally housed a hospital that belonged to KCCA but is now owned by a firm named Sechurex Amenities Limited, but the manner in which it was purchased is still under investigation. The committee's chairperson claims that since they have detected fraud throughout the entire process, they want the owners of this property to explain how they obtained the aforementioned building from KCCA.
As a committee, this has bothered us because we think that what happened was problematic. KCCA no longer now has a health center to attend to people. This is now, the entire of it is a private facility. And yet in the lease agreement, however problematic the lease agreement was, they said, number one, 2 floors will be left for a health center for KCC. As you can see, the entire structure now is a private facility.
The executive director of KCCA, on the other hand, has told the committee that all this was done before she came on board, and just like the committee, they too do not condone what was done on the building that is supposed to house a health center for Ugandans.
When you come into leadership, when there are issues, you deal with them. And my predecessor is the one who started this forensic audit. And the Auditor General has revealed several facts upon which even COSASE is building on. So we must uncover the rot which is there and put the city in order. We cannot condone a fraud, we cannot condone something which is not right.
The other project that was visited is the Kisenyi Market, where KCCA has put most of the street vendors, though it is still negotiating with the owner to reduce on the $100 million, which is about 380 billion shillings, which the owner wants. According to Joel Senyonyi, they want KCCA and government to follow the right procedure to acquire the land because they cannot accept the exorbitant 380 billion shillings for that small land.
And we hear the negotiations that are ongoing between KCCA and the owner, Awan Bosco Mwonge, is asking for $100 million for the 10 acres. That's 380 billion, meaning he wants 38 billion per acre. We are saying, no, that is not acceptable. That's too much. Perhaps he's raising the value because he realizes that as leaders we are involved, we want to make sure the vendors are settled, and so he thinks government will release any amount of money. Our hope is that KCCA is not involved in that shenanigan we are investigating. So negotiations have been ongoing. I've showed you this letter that was written by the finance minister to the ED of KCCA, and many negotiations are still ongoing. But we are telling KCCA, whatever you do it within the law. Procurement regulations and all of that should be done the right way. But number two, there are people who are saying Bosco Mwonge is not the owner of this land. And so they are challenging that. And here is that letter. So we are telling KCCA, the second thing you should do, apart from making sure you don't buy at that astronomical amount of money.
Dorothy Kisakas, however, stressed out the need for trading spaces for most vendors in Kampala and assured members of the committee that they will keep engaging the owner until they get the best price for the above land.
The biggest problem in the city right now is trading spaces. Do our people have places to trade? So when we decongest the streets, we must find a place for them to go. So is the land available? Yes. Is the seller willing? Yes. Is the price agreeable? Not yet. So that's where we are. The issue is that the trading space must be got and we settle our vendors. So there is no debate about that. We are agreed with the parliamentarians. With regard to value, government has processes of determining value, and government wants value for money. So we cannot buy something which is exorbitantly priced.
COSASE completed its investigations into KCCA as far as accountability issues are concerned, and their report is expected to be read in Parliament very soon. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Thank you, Samla Hanifa. Now let's look at public procurement. The Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority plus URSB have called upon women-owned enterprises in the procurement space to find efficiency. Bidding and informality were highlighted as critical issues. Bonia Katusime has more of this report.
A regulating agency, PPDA, in Uganda was established by the Public Procurement and Disposition of Public Assets Act 1 of 2003. It is clear that women-owned businesses struggle because they don't receive a fair portion of the national budget, aren't included in public procurement contracts, and lose out on perks like high incomes and job prospects. Because of this exclusion, the economy may grow more slowly, spending power may decline, and the government may have less money to deal with social problems like poverty and inequality. The potential of a woman winning a bid, according to Gilbert Sendugwa, Executive Director of the African Freedom of Information Center, was one of the major results of the research.
However, women-owned businesses win less than 1% of the public contracts. And therefore, because of this, women are not able to advance themselves because they don't have a fair share of the national budget through public procurement.
Not only has informality in business made it difficult for the country to collect taxes, but women now run 44% of the 32.2% of unregistered enterprises. This is one of the main barriers to female bidder success. If women are to benefit from the government procurement, Rachel Kamsime, a business registrar at Uganda Registration Services Bureau, urges that these informalities must be addressed.
And I'm glad to say that women are participating in these bankable projects that you can see. They are empowered and they are out there. I was looking at the statistics in one of those procurers that have been issued out, and it's only 44% of these women-led businesses that are formalized. Can you imagine? So where is the 60%? This is the gospel we are spreading to sensitize women that the 60% that are informal should come and formalize and leverage on the benefits of registering a business.
According to Christine from the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Asset Authority, women frequently submit bids to the government that lack the necessary documentation, which causes them to be disqualified. As a result, thorough study should be done before considering these bids.
It's unfortunate that we have that manipulation of systems because staff of entities by law are not supposed to do business with their own entities. They are not supposed to do business with their own entities. They are allowed to cross over to another district, but not to do business with their own entities.
Furthermore, because not all men are aware of the need to fill the gap when it comes to female products, having insufficient representation of women in public procurement can result in a lack of diversity and innovation in the supply chain, reduced human capital development, decreased competitiveness, and decreased productivity. This lack of diversity may restrict the selection of goods and services offered, which may eventually result in higher expenses for the government and lower value for taxpayers.
capacity training sessions, awareness raising, things to do with increasing of access to information and where do the women get this information, understanding the public procurement process, improving the legal and policy framework to specify what goes to the women, and among others.
This process is an essential tool for governments to put money in the pockets of citizens and stimulate economic growth if used appropriately. Therefore, it is crucial for the government to take active steps to promote gender equality in public procurement to ensure that everyone benefits from the economic benefits it provides. Bronia Katsime, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Moving on to fishing at Lake Victoria, fishing gear worth 1.5 billion shillings has been handed to Lake Victoria fishing community. German Development Agency and the sector authorities anticipate sustainable fishing practice with over 2,200 people expected to adhere to legalities.
Poor fishing practices are a problem that the Ugandan fish farming business is well cognizant of. As a result, its impact is frequently overestimated in the national statistics like the GDP. Therefore, development partners have provided both training and 1.5 billion worth of fishing equipments to fishermen around Lake Victoria.
We work with all actors along the fisheries value chain. That starts from fishing, from transporting, from trading, from processing. And that's why this was natural to kind of choose beneficiaries for our business development training out of the fisheries sector, because that is our target group.
Over the recent years, destructive fishing methods and illegal fishing have had significant impacts on the fish stocks. For example, around 40% of the large species captured in Lake Victoria are immature, meaning they are caught before they can reproduce.
We want these people to utilize this information, the knowledge they have acquired, to start doing fisheries as a business. We want to see that the fisheries communities are uplifted. They are drawn away from the poverty where some of them have been living.
This one-year program focused on artisanal fishers, small and medium-sized businesses, and vulnerable households and communities in the fishing sector.
Training have actually helped us to improve our lifestyle, business-wise. Business-wise, we've got knowledge and skills about processing mukene.
We have gained more. We have got more experience because
they received equipments like drying racks, which are a modern hygienic method of drying fish or silverfish, and with this project, the fishermen will be able to harvest fish even during off-season. The Uganda's fisheries sector to develop sustainably, the social and economic opportunities it provides must be understood in the context of the underlying natural capital. Pedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Away from that, there is a report about Fort Portal market failures. Despite government efforts to develop market infrastructure countrywide, some regions remain left out. In Fort Portal, Kabundaire market is choking on poor state as hygiene and sanitation threaten operations. In a bid to transform the country's market infrastructure, development projects have sprung up. For instance, the $93.7 million Markets and Agriculture Trade Improvement Program, that is MATIP. Irrespective of such efforts, areas such as Fort Portal are losing out. Market vendors in Kabundaire market have decried poor hygiene and sanitation, which they say has greatly affected their sales.
The situation is very bad. You come with a car and get stuck in the market with it because of the mud.
In 2021, the Public Service and the Local Government Committee considered the Markets Bill, which was expected to strengthen market administration. This never materialized to cater for the urbanization and the population growth as challenges pile up.
The situation has been made worse by the rains that have recently started raining in Fort Portal. The potholes are big. We have nowhere to pass.
According to Stephen Lubega, the market chairperson, the matter at play has been raised to the Fort Portal City Council, though yet to be resolved. But the division mayor's request vendors should be able to stay calm as they await funding to fix the mess.
The situation there is not good at all. I have tried talking to the authorities, but nothing is being done. At least they should put maram for them.
We have planned
that the money that will come in January, we shall use it to put maram for them. We shall also give the shrub.
The precursor to the development of current regional markets saw higher quotations in the Matip project. 500 million shillings allocation for the Lira market, Jinja Central, Mbale Main, and Wandegea. 250 million for Hoima Central Market and Gulu Main Market, and the 125 million shillings for the Mpanga Main Market. Upcoming cases were never a priority. Ronah, Nahabwe, Smart 24 TV, Business Today. Moving on, government has rallied primary school teachers to take advantage of the SACCO and attain loans at relatively lower interest rates. According to Juliet Namudu, 2 billion shillings has been immersed in the cooperatives to help livelihoods be improved.
Ms. Namudu said that the Teachers' Circle was a worthwhile government intervention in response to the teachers' challenges of poor housing and low pay. This has helped improve their livelihood and enabled them start alternative income-generating activities.
The authority in 2015 introduced a Teachers' Circle for the primary school teachers, and it gave them a seed grant of 525 million shillings at that point. 1,235 teachers right now are in that circle, and they have a basket. They have their circle amounts to 2 billion shillings. So they can borrow the money, they can do small mini projects. Some of them have started up small businesses. Some of them have built houses for themselves. Others have been able to take their children to school. And what that does is that then the teacher is happy, the teacher is comfortable, the teacher knows that they have a fallback position, and then do their work very happily. So we are happy as KCCA for having introduced that, and it's helping our teachers greatly. I can't talk about the interest right now. I can't remember it off the cuff, but it's very minimal. It's very, very minimal, and that has enabled them to be able to borrow on a regular and to give back to. And you know, the beauty is that their salaries come through, are paid by KCCA, so we are able to retrieve that money slowly, and they don't feel the stress of having borrowed.
Higher Education Minister Dr. Jesse Muyingo, while at the celebration of 25 years of universal primary education, said that the introduction of UPE helped to provide affordable education, which could provide the rightful skills for self-employment and sustainability.
With good quality, relevant education, with the right skills that are needed in the job market, you will be able to create jobs, you'll be able to employ yourselves, you'll be able to get whatever you want in life.
Dr. Muyingo also revealed that government has allocated 62 billion shillings towards the renovation of government-aided schools in all sub-counties to enable learners study from the safe environment.
We also confirm rehabilitate, renovate all our old dilapidated schools wherever they are in the country.
The 62 billion shillings is part of what was allocated as capitation grants for schools in the current financial year. The money is normally meant for procuring instrumental materials, facilitating co-curricular activities, and payment of utilities like electricity and water. Monica Nabyonga, Samuel Chirimunda, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
On to boosting intra-African trade. As Africa strives towards integrated markets and mass trade, study by the African Development Bank indicates Pan-Africanism as a crucial element in driving economic transformation. An addition of $1.1 trillion is likely by 2025.
A study conducted by the African Development Bank found that implementing Pan-African initiatives could boost the continent's GDP by up to 33%, which would translate in an additional $1.1 trillion in income output by 2025. The study identified several key areas where Pan-African initiatives could have the most significant impact, including infrastructure development, trade integration, and investment in human capital.
What we're really doing is we're leaving old people to work the agricultural space and to look after children while we urbanize and go to cities. And that's not a way to develop your agricultural sector, because the agricultural sector is actually an incredibly powerful economic driver on the African continent. So we need to mechanize, we need to make our agricultural sector take the position that it deserves in our respective economies, because it's also the solution. So maybe let's stay on the Namibian example, because we've done exceptionally well in gender equality from a legal perspective. Our constitution is perfect, our policies are very good, but there's still some places where we can do better. And I think that is also the problem in the rest of the continent. You can have the best legal instruments, you can have the best constitution, you can be the best on paper, but we must change the mindsets.
According to the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Pan-African initiatives like the African Free Trade Area, which came into effect in January 2021, is expected to boost intra-African trade by 33%, and this would increase Africa's GDP by $450 billion by 2035. The African Free Trade Area is the key example of Pan-African Free Trade Initiative, as it seeks to create a single market for goods and services, facilitate the free movement of people and capital, while harmonizing trade regulations across the continent.
In the developing economy, up to 50-60% of the economy is in the hands of the SMEs, and yet they struggle to access financing. So we're looking at how to improve the financing of the SMEs to be able to play a stronger role in the economies and really to spur the indigenous businesses.
Data from the African Union shows that the continent's youth population is expected to double to 830 by 2050, and this sustainable growth in human capital would be used as an incentive to spur economic growth, as it is very crucial for achieving sustainable development in Africa. Also, Pan-African initiatives such as African Youth Charter and the African Union Development Agencies are working to ensure that the young people have access to education, training, and employment activities that will enable them to contribute to the continent's economic growth.
Has actually been encouraged a little bit more by the introduction of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Yes, there's still incidences where the tariffs are still very high. And I think that has to do more with some tight fiscal spaces that governments do have.
Noteworthy is that the idea of Pan-African Free Trade Area has the potential to transform African economies and cause sustainable development. Such economic cohesions would enhance infrastructure development, provide a wider trade market, and improve on people's livelihoods across the continent.
You're still watching Business Today, and thank you for sticking with us up until this point. We shall take a break, but we will return with more. Don't move an inch.